It's official. Rocksteady is developing a Suicide Squad game. For years, there have been rumors about different departments within WB developing a Suicide Squad game, whether it be WB Games Montreal or Rocksteady itself. But at the DC Fandome event, we're going to see Rocksteady officially announcing a Suicide Squad game, with the story likely being the Suicide Squad taking on the Justice League. Now, with this game finally coming, I think we all agree that the Suicide Squad roster is going to make or break the game. We don't want to be playing as underpowered characters struggling against the Justice League, although it might be a fun underdog tale. But at the same time, I don't really want to see the same old names we've seen in Suicide Squad animated movies, live action movies, in the comics, retreaded over and over. I kind of want some fresh air in this franchise, even though this is the first genuine full game, not counting the very odd movie tie-in game we saw a few years ago. So I wanted to dive in and take a look at what members I'd like to see on the Suicide Squad for this upcoming game, with the caveat being I'm not going to include Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, or Harley Quinn. Simply because I think they're givens, I think they're obviously going to be in the game, so I'd rather spend my time focusing on some of the more obscure characters I'd like to see included. And I don't expect there to be, all 5 of these, plus Captain Boomerang, Harley, and Deadshot. Even just a few of these 5 being included in the game, I'd like to see. So in forming this list, I tried to balance what characters I'd like to see, what characters would be fun to play, and what characters would match up against the Justice League due to this game being the Suicide Squad taking on the Justice League. So, starting off our list at number 1 is King Shark. Now, I think King Shark would be a good counter to Aquaman. Despite originally appearing as a Superboy villain, King Shark has appeared in the Arrowverse in live action, but throughout the comics, he's also gone toe-to-toe with Aquaman, because they're both aquatic characters. Now, King Shark could make this game a bit more graphic, tearing people apart, biting limbs off, ripping them apart. But as demonstrated with Batman Arkham Knight, Rocksteady isn't necessarily afraid to go for an M-rated game. And personally, I think that's the route Suicide Squad needs to go. Both in a violent sense, but also through language, drug use, even sexually, there's been tension between Harley Quinn and Deadshot in both David Ayer's film, apparently, in the screenplay, but also in the comics as well. So I don't necessarily expect you to go fully into that, but I think Rocksteady making this an M-rated game would allow for the best experience. Now with King Shark, there could be a lot of fun gameplay here, almost sort of like your Hulk character, where you're this animalistic, tearing people apart, fighting hand-to-hand, going completely brutal. And I think that King Shark could be a very fun character to just tear through whatever city we're in. Whether we're in Gotham or Metropolis or Star City or a different DC city or even bouncing around between them, I think King Shark going through the streets and just tearing up an open world with King Shark could be extremely fun. And even when you're not on the streets, if you're able to take King Shark into the ocean, into the seas, and swim around and go deep sea and fight against some Atlanteans maybe, tracking down Aquaman, I think that could be incredibly fun. And I think King Shark would offer a very different experience than some of these other characters. Now, second, we're looking at Killer Frost. Killer Frost might not necessarily have a counterpart to the Justice League. I don't necessarily know if Rocksteady wants to include Firestorm. I imagine for this game, they're going to focus on the heavy hitters. Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, The Flash. Probably not Green Lantern, just because you wouldn't really bring in Sinestro for the Suicide Squad. So Killer Frost might not have a direct one-to-one analog, but Killer Frost is a sort of mainstay for the Suicide Squad, and I think she'd be very interesting. We didn't see her in David Ayer's Suicide Squad. It's been indicated she's not going to be in James Gunn's Suicide Squad. But she has been a mainstay that is also interesting enough that I'd like to see her included here, especially because she has a really neat power set. I was actually struggling between Killer Frost and Captain Cold for this list, but I ended up going with Killer Frost because, one, you already have Captain Boomerang there as a Flash rogue, but 2, I think running out the team with more female representation than just Harley Quinn and one other character we'll get to later, can help make it more balanced. And also, I think Killer Frost, having her power be completely natural rather than just a cold gun, makes her a lot more interesting of a character. Now, I think gameplay-wise, she could be a lot of fun, depending on, once again, how brutal they want to make it. Pulling off of freezing someone and then going up and completely shattering them into icicles and fragments, pulling off sort of sub-zero fatalities even. You can go a lot. You can do a lot and go pretty far with Killer Frost. So I think she'd be a lot of fun to play. Now, the third character I'd like to see is a bit unique. Not really much of a mainstay on the Suicide Squad. I believe he's been on it once or twice, but he's gotten a lot of focus on Stargirl recently, the live-action series, and in the Young Justice animated series, and that would be Sportsmaster. Now, Sportsmaster is a very goofy sort of C-lister or B-lister in the comics, but in Young Justice and Stargirl, he is actually a pretty skilled fighter, and I think you can translate that very well into a Suicide Squad game. Hand-to-hand combat, he could excel in with boxing skills, maybe some kickboxing, but then even with melee, hockey sticks, baseball bats, golf clubs, and then even from ranged combat, you hit a golf ball, hit a baseball, hit a tennis ball, hit any sort of ball, kick a soccer ball even. I think Sportsmaster could bring a lot of variety there. You could have a lot of different moves you could upgrade, In the Arkham series, you could upgrade to multi-batarangs. So why not upgrade to multi-golf balls, multi-baseballs, You toss up 3 tennis balls and hit them with a racket. I think Sportsmaster, he might be a little gimmicky, but that's the enjoyment out of it. With the Arkham games, you had so much fun having all these different gadgets for Batman. With Sportsmaster, maybe a well-placed shuttlecock across the map is the best option to take out a guy or something. I think Sportsmaster would be a lot of fun. He could keep it sort of lighthearted, because you're running around Casey Jones style with a hockey stick and just beating the shit out of people. So I think that could be a lot of fun. Now, the fourth character I'd like to see in Rocksteady's Suicide Squad game would be Deathstroke. Now, Deathstroke is a lot more prominent than some of these people, but I think Deathstroke serves very well as an analog to Batman. Now, I've seen some leaks out there that I don't necessarily believe are accurate, saying that Batman is not in this game because Rocksteady doesn't want Batman to be captured, defeated, or killed by the Suicide Squad, which I don't know if I buy if they're willing to let Wonder Woman and Superman be defeated by the Suicide Squad. So, I think Batman... I don't see a reason why Batman wouldn't be in this game. I'll put it that way. So I think Deathstroke would be a very good counter to Batman, simply because they're both very skilled combatants. And then also, in Arkham Origins, Deathstroke was teased to be joining an Arkhamverse Suicide Squad. And while we don't know if this game is going to tie into the Arkhamverse, I personally don't think it will, but I think it would be a neat nod to have him be on the team as sort of a callback to when he was recruited by Amanda Waller at the end of Arkham Origins. Furthermore, similar to Sportsmaster, Deathstroke can be a lot of fun from different ranges. He's going to be a skilled hand-to-hand combatant, then you've got his staff, his swords, and then from long range, guns. It would be a lot of fun. And then not to mention, his appearance in Titans was amazing. It's a shame on how it ended, but the scenes that we did get of him, I found Esai Morales, I believe is how you pronounce his name, a very good actor for Deathstroke. He'd be a lot of fun. And then, even if Batman's not in this game, Deathstroke can easily go toe-to-toe with many of the members of the Justice League. He's that skilled of a fighter. So I would love to see him be included in this game. And finally, the fifth person on this list that I'd like to see in the Suicide Squad game would be Cheetah. She would be your counter to Wonder Woman, due to being part of Wonder Woman's Rogues Gallery. Cheetah would be a lot of fun, similar in a King Shark style of sort of animalistic, but Cheetah's not animalistic in the sense of brutal, hammer-like force. She's more of a knife, very surgical and skilled with her strikes. You can sort of plan things out and maybe go a more stealthy route, pouncing down similar to Catwoman in Arkham City, where you can plan out these attacks, plan out how you're going to clear a room as Cheetah. But also, you can probably take things head on as well with her. So I think it would be interesting to see Cheetah be incorporated into the game, especially if we are going with that mature rated game. Because you could go as brutal as you want with her, clawing through people, tearing them up, possibly going up against the Amazons. I think that would be a lot of fun to include Cheetah. She was the one I mentioned earlier in the Killer Frost portion, where I think having a well-rounded team makes it so that Harley Quinn isn't the girl on the team. I think we need to see a lot of development for Harley in this game, and I think by making her not the only woman on the team, you can go more into her personality, her backstory, her sort of tragic and sad backstory, and she's not just the token woman on the team. Not to mention being led by Amanda Waller as a strong woman, you could have a very strong game with all these different female characters, and they aren't just the, sexualized token that they may have originally been when they were created. I'm not going into some sort of rant here, but I think it would be nice to have this sort of well-rounded team, not from the perspective of the powers or the villains, but the sort of gender between them all, and sort of have them on this team together, interacting with one another, because that is one big thing I want to see from this game. I want to see the Suicide Squad interact with one another. I don't want to play a mission where you're going in as one character, you wrap up the mission, you go to some sort of hub, and then you're playing another mission with a different character. I want to see banter between the Suicide Squad characters. I want to see them fight beside each other. I want to see maybe parts where you fight against one another when you get into some sort of quarrel, maybe, assuming Amanda Waller doesn't blow your heads off. But I think it would be a lot of fun to go into this team and the dynamics at hand and explore sort of what the Suicide Squad is, how they function, how they operate, and why they're taking on the Justice League. So ultimately, those are the 5 characters, in addition to the obvious Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, and Harley Quinn, that I'd love to see in Rocksteady Suicide Squad game. Let me know what you think. Let me know characters you'd like to see. Let me know characters you don't want to see. Let me know your thoughts on my list. Subscribe and hit the like button. And I'll be back, and we can really dive in after the DC Fandome event hopefully reveals the lineup of characters we'll be seeing. Thanks.